As we told you, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is annoyed at having to pay $7 for a croissant at LaGuardia Airport. All right, here's the tweet. I'll give it to you. No, we don't. I don't have it. So she's saying, look, why do I have to pay $7 an hour for $7 for a croissant at LaGuardia?
Right.
Why can't you pay $15 an hour minimum wage? All right, fair question. I want to bring in Justin Haskins. He's Executive Director, Editor at the Heartland Institute. What does the price of croissant have to do with the $15 an hour minimum wage? I don't see the point.
Well, the point is, I guess, to show that if a croissant can cost $7, then I guess we should be able to pay people $15 an hour. And that somehow is going to be a better living wage for those people. It's totally ridiculous. The reality is this: Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, and other democratic socialists, they have no idea how markets work, or they know how they work and they just don't care. The truth is that in capitalism is all just about freedom. That's all it's about, right? I have property rights, you have property rights, and we can freely exchange property between us, and money is just a medium for doing that. If you're against capitalism, then you're just against freedom. And that's really what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants, is to get rid of freedom in the economy so that she and people like her can decide what croissants cost, what labor is worth to people.
She wants legislated wages. She wants legislated wages, so she can say, you got to pay this, this, and this all over the place. Now, Justin, I want to get your opinion on what Bernie Sanders said in an NPR interview. I'm going to quote now. What I mean by democratic socialism is that I want a vibrant democracy. Seems to me that those two may be opposite ideas. What say you?
Yeah, absolutely. Bernie Sanders is trying to reposition what socialism means, because he knows that, according to a Fox News poll in February, only 25% of Americans have a favorable view of socialism. Older people, the people who are most likely to vote, they don't have a favorable view of socialism. So he's trying to redefine socialism to mean $15 minimum wage and single-payer health care, and that's it. But that's not what Bernie Sanders really wants. I mean, those things are bad ideas in and of themselves, but that's not really what Bernie Sanders is after. He is after completely fundamentally transforming the economy so that it's more like the Soviet Union of the 1970s and 80s and closer to Venezuela, not what we have in the United States.
No, that's going too far. I mean, he's not a communist, for heaven's sake. He's a democratic socialist, and Europe is his model. I mean, you could say that Sweden, Denmark, Norway, they are essentially socialist countries, and they have conferred prosperity on the vast majority of their people. You could say that is democratic socialism, and it works.
Yeah, that's the argument that Bernie Sanders makes all the time, but it's actually not true. If you look at the analyses that have been done by the Cato Institute and the Heritage Foundation, they show that in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, etc., their economies are actually freer than ours in many areas. In other areas, they're not as free, and the people are not really better off there. The point is that they have market-based capitalistic economies. They have some aspects of their economies that are socialized that don't work particularly well, like single-payer health care. And we're seeing that now in Finland, for instance, where the system is just collapsing. But these are not socialist utopias. They have a broad-based tax system. They tax even the poorest people in society, pay a huge part of the tax burden. They have very few business regulations compared to some parts of the United States. These are not socialist utopias. They have balanced budgets. I mean, is Bernie Sanders calling for balanced budgets? Of course not. That's not what Bernie Sanders wants. He wants to control the entire economy. That's the goal that Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio have.
Is the Democratic Party, in your view, now a socialist party?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any question about it. More than half the party, more than half of Democrats say they favor socialism.
Okay, well, define socialism then.
Right. Well, it depends on how you define it, right? I don't think that the average Democrat...
I mean, if the Democratic Party is socialist, and you're saying that, how do you define socialist?
Right. Socialism is the collective property and is the collective management and ownership of property. And in a society where you have the government or the collective controlling most of the economy, that would be a socialist economy. And that's exactly what Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez want in the long run. They want to move us toward that.
But they don't actually want the government to own Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. They don't actually want ownership of the means of production, do they?
In certain industries, they absolutely do. I think they do want to control the energy industry. That's what the Green New Deal is all about. I think they do want to control education, higher education. I think that they do want to control the health insurance industry and maybe even the entire healthcare industry. So, yeah, I actually do think they want to collectively own and manage much of the economy. Maybe not all of it, but most of it, certainly. That's absolutely where the far left wing of the Democratic Party has moved. And that's why Bernie Sanders is trying to change the narrative and turn this into something about minimum wage, when it really isn't about minimum wage. This is about controlling your life, because Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez believe that you, the American sitting at home right now, that you're too stupid to manage your own affairs and that they should be managing them for you.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Justin Haskins, welcome back. Good to see you again, and we'll see you again real soon. Thank you, sir. All right.
Thanks, Stuart.